Okay, so here is the same table in an Excel spreadsheet, a live Excel spreadsheet. And you'll notice I've got my if function, and notice underneath it's telling you where you are. I'm in the if function, and that help pop-up is telling me I'm in my logical test. And oop, there's logical test number 2. Is there a logical test number 3? No, there's not. Now I have gone into the value if true and the value if false. So the pop-up does help. There's my equation. This person is 1. I can grab the bar, the handle rather, the fill handle, and drag down. I'm clicking and holding the left mouse button while I drag down, and then I let go of the left mouse button, and bingo, I have just copied that nested if function all the way down using if and. And it gives 2 people, Joe and Mary, a level of 2. Everybody else is still level 1 because they've been there more than 5 years and they have more than $10,000. Now here we have Mark. He's been there more than 5 years, but he doesn't meet the 10,000 mark. All right, so he doesn't meet the criteria. What if I had somebody who was there? Well, yeah, here's somebody less than 5 years who has way more than the 10,000 mark, still doesn't make it because they've got 1 more year to go in order to reach level 2. All right. But now we're going to look at another option, the OR function. This is either criteria. So D2 is going to be greater than 5 years, or C2 is greater than $10,000. And I'm going to copy that down. And you notice almost everybody makes it. There's only 2 people that don't make the 10,000 on this list, but one of them makes the years, so they still get a level 2. The only person that doesn't get level 2 is John because he does not meet the 10,000 and he does not meet the employment years criteria. He's the newbie on the block. Not even a full year. But even if I do 4.999999 years, that still isn't enough. It's got to be 5. Oop, was it 5? Oh, greater than 5. 5 still didn't do it. What about 5.01? That does it. It wasn't equal to 5, it was greater than 5. And 5 is not greater than 5, but 5.01, that's greater than 5. So again, how you define these things can be very important, and how you put your data in, especially when you're talking about greater than, less than, equal to, because Excel takes it very literally. And so some people might say, oh yeah, he's been here more than 5 years. He's, 5 years and 2 months. And they think of that as greater than 5 years, even though here in the table, it only says 5 because they haven't reached their 6th year. And you intended that to mean that they should qualify. How do I fix that? I need to make sure that it is greater than or equal to 5. Now they qualify because it's equal to 5. Okay? always think about worst case scenarios. What could go wrong in my if function? Do I need greater than or equal to make sure that I don't have an error in my results? Because John would be really upset if he should be qualified. Hey, I've been there 5 years. All right, but he really has been there only 0. Okay, so that's how the OR function works. In this case, everyone is assigned a job level 2 except John. And I already explained that. You can use more than 2 criteria in nested ands and ORs. Simply separate them by commas. We've already been through that. These examples work great when there are only 2 job levels, but what if there are more than 2? In this case, you will have more than 2 criteria and more than 1 value if true and value if false. Let's say we want to assign a job level 3 if the employee meets both criteria above, and a job level of 2 if the employee meets either of the criteria above, and a job level of 1 if the employee doesn't meet any of the criteria above. So if they do over 5 years and over $10,000, they're a 3. If they do either over 5 years or $10,000, they're a 2. And if they meet neither of those criteria, they are a 1. And some of you might be panicking at this point. This is why I tell you, go to Google, look around, find some tutorials, find some examples, some sample spreadsheets of how people have solved these things, because whatever you're trying to do, somebody's already done it. The trick is having the patience and looking for the right words, finding the right words to search, and eventually you will find something like this that solves the problem of a nested function. So what do I have? I have an AND function. And what is this saying? If the logical test, if D2 is greater than 5, if they've been there more than 5 years, and their sales is more than $10,000, then it's true. So what's the result if it's true? You put in a 3. If it's false, what do? If it's false, you have a new logical test. If it's false, you have an OR. If it's either, so I've got another logical test. If the first logical test is true, it's a 3. If the first logical test is false, you've got this whole other thing to do. All right, if it's false, I have to do another if test. And what's the logical test for this second if test? The logical test for this is if they have 5 years of service, more than 5 years of service, or more than $10,000, then put in a 2. If it still is false, you get a 1. Now, you might want to walk through that, replay what I just said like 5 times if you need to, but you have multiple things nested, an if, an and, another if, and an or. So there's an if, and an or, all nested inside of an if statement. And let's try it. So I fill in that equation. I'm going to grab the handle or use Control D to copy it down. And let's look. This person does meet one of the criteria, but not both. They're a 2. This person meets both. They're a 3. This person meets 1, sales. They're not there enough time, so they get a 2. Mary, she has the sales criteria and the years, so she's a 3. This employee meets 1, the years, and so they're a 2. This employee meets none, they're a 1. And this employee meets 1, the sales, they're a 2. So there you have it, a different way of looking at this. And this is difficult to make those equations, those nested functions, and put them all together into the appropriate equation. Remember, the if, and or are the functions, and when you piece them all together, the end product is your equation. And so this complicated equation is powerful, but you usually only have to do it once. Once you figure it out and have tested it, think of, just put in some random raw data and make sure it's working the way you think. Make sure that, in extremes, what happens if you have 0 values here? What if you have values that are, rounded by your other equations, and you want to give that a person something, but the function doesn't, because, like I said before, they've been there 5 years and 2 days. Does that qualify? According to this, it doesn't. You might think it should. And when you're doing this for your work, you're the manager of this department, you might want to say, yeah, 5 years and 2 days, I want that to count. So I need to change the equation so that that person gets the appropriate job level. All right. So again, they get pretty ugly. I want you to understand the concept. I would like you to play with this, but this is to push those students who are more advanced than others in this class. So the students who are thinking a lot of this stuff in this class is pretty basic, a lot of it's not. So for you who need to be pushed a little harder to feel like you're getting your money's worth, I hope this one's getting you your money's worth. For those that are more beginners in this class, as I promised earlier, I will never ask you to understand something like this on a test. All right? So it won't hurt you. But certainly the basic if functions I want you to understand. Whoa, what is this one? You can also nest multiple ifs if you want different results based on different values in the same cell. For this example, let's say all of the employees in the East District will be assigned a job level of 4. The West ones will be 3, the North ones will be 2, and the South ones will be 1. So this isn't a level based on performance or years. This is just turning a word into a number. And sometimes that can be very helpful. I'm not exactly sure how that is helpful in this particular case, but there are cases I've run into over the years where, based on what I want to do to manipulate the data down the road, if I've got a word in a column, it's easier to manipulate the data if I can somehow translate that word into a number. And you don't want to lose the word. You don't want to get rid of the word. So east, west, north, south. If I wanted to transfer words to numbers, let's do it. There's my nested if function. And I've copied it down. So anybody east gets a 4, west gets a 3, north gets a 2, and south gets a 1. And again, if I follow this, if B2 is east, call it 4. Otherwise, keep going. If B2 is west, give it a 3. Otherwise, keep going. If B2 is north, give it a 2. Otherwise, keep going. If B2 is south, give it a 1. Otherwise, leave it blank. Double quotes with nothing in between is just blank. So if I don't have a value, it's blank. You see what happened there? I took the value away, it's blank. And I could even do conditional formatting to say if this cell is blank, highlight it so I can see if there's some data that's wrong. Or what if it's something else? What if it's blue? Is that east, west, north, south? Blue doesn't give me anything either because it's not one of the logical tests. And I'd have to look up, I don't want to do it in front of you because it might be really quick and it might take me a minute. How do I highlight a blank cell using conditional formatting? Just in case there's a glitch with that, I don't want to sit there and poke around in front of you. I know I've done it before, but I just don't remember where to find that in conditional formatting off the top of my head. So I'm not even going to bother going there. But if I wanted this to be red to say, there's a problem. There must be a typo in one of these, you know, W-E-S-T. Whoops, I didn't type west right. Instead of hitting the S, I went just a little bit to the left and I typed an A. And there are ways to deal with that as well. I could force this district, if that was a problem, I could force this to be only northwest, east, south. That's it. There is no other option, and it will force you to accept only those 4 values. If I try to type something else, it won't let you. It'll pop up a warning message, an invalid data entry. We'll get to that at another time. Actually, let me do west. No, Control Z, 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 E. That was east. So another wonderful use of nested if functions. And you can read this. It explains how that works. And that's it.